All right, since a lot of you guys have been asking, here's the complete guide on how to use Raze's Satchels. Now, let me go off the record and say I am an unranked Raze main. But before you click off this video, I have well over 200 hours in game with Raze, and I probably have between 300 to 400 hours in custom games with Raze just practicing her Satchels. So if there's one thing I understand about this game, it is Raze's Satchels. Not to mention, I've gotten tips from different Raze mains and I've seen a bunch of different guides, so I take my Satchels kind of serious. I'm gonna split this all up in the steps, so be sure to check the timestamp if you guys want to skip to something specific, but let's hop into it. Okay, the first thing we're going to go over is basics. I think it's very important to know some of this information about Raze if you guys don't know already. Because to be honest, I didn't know some of this for like the longest time. First thing you guys want to do is change your keybinds. You guys gonna want to activate your ability to a side mouse button. Trust me, this makes your life so much easier with Raze. A lot of times when I see different players struggle with Raze, it's because they don't have a side mouse button on. Now, second keybind you guys want to change, and this is completely optional. Instead of having jump as space, you guys can activate your scroll wheel to make it much easier to b-hop, which we'll get into in a little bit. But personally, I didn't come from CSGO, so I really struggle with switching my guns with 1, 2, and 3. You can learn how to b-hop with space, but I do see it being much easier with scroll wheel. Raze's Satchel is probably the most creative utility in the game. It has such a variety on what you can do with them, which is why when it comes to being a Raze main, you can really be very unpredictable with them. All right, this is probably one of the most important mechanics to learn with Raze, and that is air strafing. Air strafing basically when you hold W and you activate A or D to help you move left to right. So that means if I want to air straight left, I'll hold W, A, and then I'll turn left. Or if I want to go right, then I'll hold W and D and go right. Great way to practice is to come over to a box like this, and you're going to air strafe off and onto this box, coming from both sides. You should be able to hit this literally like every time. Now, remember when I told you to change your jump keybind to a scroll wheel? This is to make bunny hopping way easier. And bunny hopping is really important in Raze because it keeps her momentum after one of her satchels. For example, if I use my satchels, I can bunny hop and keep my momentum for a little bit longer. And this basically just keeps your speed at a maximum compared to if you're going to stop and run. A few more facts about Raze's Satchels I quickly want to go over. Raze's Satchel actually does damage, and if it's in mid-air, it'll do a maximum of 15 damage. But if you throw against a wall and let it beep once, it'll do a maximum of 50. You can also tell because that green light will activate as soon as it's ready. And yes, you can leave it for however long you want, and it'll still do the 50 damage. Obviously, if it's farther away, it'll do a little bit less, but something nice to keep in mind. It's also really nice to know the Satchel's blast radius, which has a length of 6 meters. From where you plant it. The last thing I really think you guys should know about Raze's Satchel is as soon as you throw it, it has 5 seconds until it'll blow up by itself. And I believe that's everything to Raze's basics. So let me show you guys how to use single satchels. Okay, to understand Raze with the satchel movement, it's really good to start out with a single satchel. Now, when it comes to using Raze's Satchel, it also really depends on where your body is placed. For example, if you're on top of the satchel, you'll go straight up. Compared to the satchels to the left of you, then you'll just go to the right with distance. Being right on top of the satchel is really good for getting on top of boxes like these. And using satchel for distance just really helps with covering grounds. For example, let's say I know there's an enemy right here. I can literally just use a single satchel to clear this distance and makes it a lot harder for them to shoot me. So closer is like more slower / height, and more farther is more speed and distance. Now let's talk about one of my favorite mechanics with single satchels, and that is satchel peeking. Satchel peeking is really great to catch your enemies off guard and get quick kills. Now, a couple things to keep in mind while you satchel peek. First thing is wait till your gun ready. That way you can shoot as soon as you peek. Another thing is I always usually place it at hip level. This gives you the most distance possible compared to if you throw it too low, because then you'll get this little hop, which makes your first shot accuracy much less accurate. Or placing it too high, because then you just sat yourself into the ground and won't cover much distance. So this is why I always say hip level is perfect. Another thing is to counter strafe. That way you cancel your momentum and make your first shot accuracy much quicker. And you guys don't know what counter strafing is. Basically, if you're holding A and you tap D, for that brief time, your character stays still, so you have first shot accuracy. And for satchel peeking, this doesn't change. There's actually a few more things you can do with single satcheling that I'll cover a little bit later. But let's hop into the main reason why you probably clicked this video, and that is double satcheling. Now, if you guys are going to double satchel, most likely the first satchel is going to be for distance. So you're probably going to want your body placed between the 45-degree and the 30-degree mark, right around this range. You can do this from the ground, which I do see a lot of Raze mains do, as well as myself, but doing from higher ground makes it much easier to hit that 45-degree, and you just get more distance. It will get a little bit different for the second satchel. Now, for the second satchel, you're kind of going to think about it the same way, but this time you're moving while you're doing it. The way I like to think about it is, let's say you're in a moving car and you have a rock and you drop it out the window. The rock is going to stay exactly where you dropped it. But if you throw the rock in front of the car, then eventually your car will catch up to that rock. This is why if you look straight down after the first satchel, you get more distance. And if you throw the satchel in front of you, you'll get more height. I usually like to look around hip level for this. to get the maximum height. But realistically, the more you practice with the second satchel and where you throw it, the more you understand on realistically how the second satchel works. So I recommend you guys doing exactly what I'm doing. Just get on a higher platform, throw the first satchel, and just play around with where you throw the second satchel. Now, realistically, how I practice Raze's double satchels is doing this Raze route and firing range that I'm about to show you now. So you're going to start on the firing range. You're going to throw your satchel below the staircase. You're going to jump from the top of the staircase onto this balcony with a single satchel. Now, this is where air strafing is going to come in handy. And if you guys didn't practice your air strafing, at least this will help you guys. You're going to throw your first satchel onto this platform. You're going to jump, and you're gonna throw your second satchel and try to land right on top of this roof. Now from here, you're gonna throw your satchel onto the building, and you're gonna go around this first tree onto this green box. You then can single satchel onto this green box, and then you can double satchel onto this box, double satchel onto this box, and now finally double satchel onto this wall and back to this building. Now I like to loop this from here. I'll come back around here and then do this whole loop again. Now, I started making Raze back in February, and let me show you guys how much I've improved in this route when it comes to speed and consistency. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I started doing this route. This is the first route I ever did, and this is really where I started practicing my Raze mechanics. And I'm telling you guys, if you guys do this for like 5 to 10 minutes a day, you guys will see improvement in your guys' satchel abilities. All right, now that we went over double satcheling, the next mechanic I want to show you guys is the triple jump. Now, if you guys don't know what the triple jump is, basically it's a double satchel, but you activate a rocket launcher with it to either get distance, or it's great for just catching your enemies off guard and getting kills, especially on sight. Now, what I see a lot of new Raze players do is they'll activate the rocket launcher first and then go do the satchel, which, like, I guess is fine, but you are losing a lot of distance and mobility with your rocket launcher out. You can just tell when you have the Vandal out. If you move the Vandal, you move a lot slower than if you have your knife out. This is the same when it comes to air movement and just any movement in general. So this is why a lot of us Praise main practice one mechanic to get the maximum of our movement out of this rocket launcher play. First thing you guys probably know is the rocket launcher has 2 animations. And basically, if you guys didn't know, if you activate your ultimate and throw a satchel, you cancel this animation. So just by knowing the ultimate and then satchel right after, you got majority of the triple jump done. Now, the way it works is going to be satchel, explode your satchel, pull out your ultimate, throw the second satchel. That might sound complicated, but it's much easier than you think. Basically, all you're going to do is just one normal satchel jump. After that, do the same thing, but after you ignite it, pull out your ultimate. Now put that all together, but now you're going to throw a second satchel. And now just put all this stuff together, but you're going to ignite that second satchel. And there you go. There's how you triple jump. All right, now that we got triple jump, by the way, we're going to go over one of our final mechanics, and that is recoveries and repositioning. Okay, so what I mean by recovering is basically if you over peak an angle and you kind of bite too much and then you can chew, you basically flick your mouse in a general direction and pop the satchel to recover back behind like a barrier or something. That way you don't die. Or in other words, you can reposition into the spot. I do this a lot basically when I see multiple enemies and either my spray pattern is a little bit off, or I just pretty much know I'm gonna lose this gunfight if I keep shooting. And one thing I personally don't do often, but I really need to start working on, is flicking it towards the ground. Because A, this covers more distance because you are off the air, so you don't have the friction from the ground to stop you. And B, it is harder to hit your head. So if you guys are going to practice mechanics, I recommend you guys throwing towards the ground and doing quick flicks like this. And if you guys really want to practice, you guys can come over to this portal and come through here, put on easy and medium bots. And basically what you're going to do is going to buy satchels, buy shields, buy whatever you want, a Vandal, Phantom, whatever you want to use. And basically, you're gonna get a kill and you're gonna satchel away. This will just get you the used to avoiding enemies after you take a gunfight in case you need it. But if I did miss anything, be sure to let me know, because then I'll make a YouTube short on it and put it in the pinned comment. So if you guys are looking for anything specific like super boosting, it'll be in the pinned comment. Oh, my cat wants to say goodbye to you guys. But be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys sometime next time. Bye.